Vedaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatari Shakarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadiko Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Radha Radha Nata Radha Radha Nata Radhe Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Haribo Nitai Gaura Haribo Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Go Premanande Haribo. So dear devotees, we just want to welcome you to today's session. We're going to read from the Light of the Bhagavat. And first of all, let's say some invocation prayers. Om Jnanatimmirandhasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Tadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhescha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavinibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we'll be doing analogy 7. And it goes as follows. Small rivulets that almost dried up during the months of May and June now begin to overflow their banks, like upstarts that suddenly overflow their expenditure. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. One should learn the gravity from the sea and the rivulet. The sea is always within its limit, in spite of the many rivers pouring water into it. Similarly, one should properly use the assets of life and not squander them for purposes that have no permanent value. Uncontrolled, sensuous persons play with the assets of the body and accumulate wealth. But the strength of the body should be used for self-realization, not for sense gratification. Human beings have two kinds of temperaments. Some are introspective and the others are extravagant. Those who are extravagant are enamored of the external features of phenomenal beauty and have no insight into the whole manifestation. They are practically asleep to introspection, and thus they are unable to derive any permanent value from the assets of human form of body. But one who has developed introspection is as grave as the sea, while those who are extravagant are calm and quiet in sleep. Such grave persons use the full advantage of human form of life. Although the animal propensity of the body should be minimized, those who are extravagant temporarily overflow their material enjoyment. Nonetheless, as soon as the rainy season of life is over, they become as dry riverbeds. Life is meant for the right cause, or sat, that which exists for all time. In the material world, nothing is sat or eternal, but the bad bargain of the material world can be used for the best purpose. The mind dictated to extravagance is a bad bargain, but one can make best use of the mind by introspection. So let's try to analyze and see what Prabhupada has been saying here. So Prabhupada is using, he's basically using this analogy to show us how we have become so dried up within our hearts and minds. So Prabhupada says that has the sea always maintain its limits, even when there's incessant rains and the rivers flow into it. Similarly, a yogi or devotee maintains his equilibrium when there's incessant flow of material desires. So everyone is desiring for something all the time. The nature of the mind is that it wants nice things, right? It is always on the alert to acquire desirable things in every situation that we find ourselves in. There is always acceptance and rejection. We accept things that will gratify our senses and reject things that will cause us pain. Why? Because by nature, the soul is forever blissful and is not subjected to any type of misery, right? And we have this mind, that is full of desires, and it's always hopping around, like a monkey. The mind is like a monkey, always jumping from one branch to the other. So that's what the monkey does, right? Jumping from one branch to the other. And the mind also, it's going here and here, right? I wish I had this and I wish I had that. I want delicious food. I want to go here and I want to go there. I wish I catch the lotto. I wish. So many things, so many desires. If we want to succeed in attaining Krishna, then we need the hunger for Krishna consciousness to succeed, right? We should have the thirst to attain the abode of the Lord, Krishna's abode, Golok Vrindavan. And I'm preaching more to myself because I also have a mind, right? And we all have minds and we know what mind does, right? So where shall we get the thirst and hunger for Krishna? So by associating with those devotees that have the thirst and hunger for Krishna, maybe some of that can rub onto us, hopefully, if we take their association, right? Association of exalted devotees who are 100% engaged in Krishna conscious activities. In the Bhagavad Gita, there's a nice verse there in Bhagavad Gita 6:34, which says, Chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balavadidam tashyaham nigraham manye vayur eva sujaskaram. The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and strong, O Krishna. And to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. In the purport, let's just read the purport and see what Prabhupada is saying here, right? Let me just open to that page. Yeah, so the purport goes as follows. The mind is so strong and obstinate that it sometimes overcomes the intelligence. Although the mind is supposed to be subservient to the intelligence, for a man in the practical world who has to fight so many opposing elements, it is certainly very difficult to control the mind. Artificially, one may establish a mental equilibrium towards both friend and enemy. But ultimately, no worldly man can do so, for this is more difficult than controlling a raging wind. In the Vedic literature, Katha Upanishad 1.3.3 and 4, it is said, Atmanam Rathinam Vidhi, Sariram Ratham Evacha, Buddhim tu Saritam Vidhi, Mana Pragraham Evacha. Indriyani ahan ahur, Vishayam steshu gocharan. Amendriya manoyuktam, Bhakteti ahur manishaha. This individual is the passenger in the car of the material body, And the intelligence is the driver. The mind is the driving instrument, and the senses are the horses. The self is thus the enjoyer or sufferer in the association of the mind and senses. So it is understood by great thinkers. Intelligence is supposed to direct the mind, but the mind is so strong and obstinate that it often overcomes even one's own intelligence. As an acute infection, any may surpass the efficacy of medicine, such a strong mind is supposed to be controlled by the practice of yoga. But such practice is never practical for a worldly person like Arjuna. And what can we say of modern man? The simile used here is appropriate. One cannot capture the blowing wind, and it is even more difficult to capture the turbulent mind. The easiest way to control the mind, as suggested by Lord Chaitanya, is chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The great mantra for deliverance in all humility. The method prescribed is Savai Mana Krishna Padaravindayo. One must engage one's mind fully in Krishna. Only then will there remain no other engagement to agitate the mind. So we see how nicely Prabhupada is putting it here. And there's this picture in the Bhagavad Gita of the self, right? Who is a passenger, and the soul is a passenger, and the mind is the driving instrument or the reins. So the senses are pulling us in this way and that way, but we need to use the intelligence, right, to curb the senses, or the senses will run wild. So Arjuna is faced with this dilemma. Therefore, he's asking this question, right? So the self is the enjoyer or sufferer in the association of the mind and intelligence. We become slaves to our mind. We are meant to control the mind, but we become slaves. Now, none of us would like to be slaves to another person, right? And it's very difficult, right? We don't want to become slaves of someone else, but we voluntarily become slaves to our mind without even thinking about it, right? Whatever the mind dictates, we just do. Without, we don't even think twice about it sometimes, and we get ourselves into trouble. It happens so many times to me, right? And I'm sure it happened to you as carry out our activity, whatever it may be. So we should try to use our intelligence to decipher what are the consequences of this. If I do this, what's going to be the consequences, and so on and so forth. So we should go inward, and Prabhupada in the purport, he says we should be introverts, right? Go inside and see where we are at. How are we progressing in Krishna consciousness? Where are my weak points, and how am I going to work on those weak points? And here Srila Prabhupada says that the human being has two temperaments. One is of extravagance and the other is of introspection. The one with the extravagance is enamored by external beauty and do not introspect. In this way, he doesn't derive permanent asset of his human body, meaning that it is only in this human form of life can we make spiritual progress and attain eternity. But if we misuse it, then we gliding down to hellish forms of life, animals. We find that most people are misusing this human form of life. What is this body made up of, right? We have this body and we must use. So what is this body made up of? If we analyze you know, the matter that this body is made of earth, water, fire, air, ether, right? And it produces a bad odor. It's made up of stool and urine, blood, mucus, pus. Is this very nice? No, but we put all our time and money to beautify it, decorate it. Millions of dollars are spent just to look good. The advertising industry is making millions because we are such fools that we do not understand the simple truth that we are not this temporary body, but eternal spirit souls. The fashion industry, the perfume industry, the makeup industry, and people go to great lengths, even they go to, they perform plastic surgery in order to look good. And what about the weight loss, right? So people are trying different things just to look good. Srila Prabhupada says that the animalistic propensity of the body should be minimized. The temporary overflow of material enjoyment should be minimized. As soon as the rainy season is over, then they become dry as riverbeds. So one should introspect and use this bad bargain, this body, for the eternal purpose and not rot in this material world lifetime after lifetime. We've been here for millions and millions and millions of births we have taken here, right? And we are simply wasting our lives. So as soon as one actually gets the opportunity to take up the Krishna consciousness, we should take it up with our hearts and souls. We're simply wasting our lives, and our time is running out. We are wasting our lives with false pleasure, exactly as a camel that runs after a mirage in the desert. So in the first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, this mirage is being explained, in the purport of this verse. So Tejavari Midam Yatavinamayo. By him, even the great demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representation of water seen in fire and land seen on water. Only because of him, Krishna, does the material universes temporarily manifested by the three modes of material nature appear factual, although unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representation of this material world. I meditate upon him because he is the absolute truth. Now, we find that this world is made up of matter, and it is temporary, right? And we are put here because, we want to enjoy separately from the Lord. So he's put us into this illusory world so that we can fulfill our desires and to enjoy our senses to the maximum. So now that we have received this message of the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, then we should do something about getting out of this material world instead of coming here repeatedly, birth after birth after birth, right? We should try to get out of this material world. And Prabhupada, at the end of that purport, in the Bhagavad Gita 6:34, he says, the only means to curb our mind and, is to chant the holy names of Krishna. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So now this method Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give us, which is so sublime and so wonderful, just by accepting this process and by chanting the holy names of God. This is devotional service. And there are 9 processes of devotional service. We won't go through all of that right now, but I'm just making a point that this process of chanting the holy names is so easy and so sublime that anyone can do it, right? Just chant the holy names and your way is paved back home, back to Godhead. So I'm sure most of the devotees are doing that, but whoever's going to listen to this class can also derive benefit by chanting the holy names of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So with this, I'd like to stop here. If there's anything you'd like to contribute to this class, you're most welcome to do so. Paramatma Prabhu.
Hi, Krishna. Thank you for the class. Maji, I just wanted to ask you a question. When it says here, only in the Srimad Bhagavatam, verse 1, it says, only because of him do the material universes temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature. I just wanted to know, what does it mean by the reactions of the three modes of nature? And how does that affect the material universes?
So this world is run by three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And Maya Devi, or Durga Devi, is in charge of this material manifestation. And here in this verse, it is said it is temporarily. It's temporary. It's these universes are temporary. So we're not going to get eternal happiness here, no matter how hard we strive. We may think, well, this is going to make me happy. Let me try this, and we try that, we fail, and then we think, okay, this is going to make me happy. Let me try this, and we try that, we fail. And there is a little pleasure, some fleeting happiness you may get, in doing all of these things, right? But the real happiness and the eternal happiness is with the soul, because you are not this body. You are part of the spiritual world. You are the spirit soul. So you're spiritual in nature. You're not matter. You're not made of matter. This body is made of matter, but you are the spirit soul that's within this, that's encaged within the body. So, the only way to get out, as we have said, is to meditate upon the form of Lord Krishna and chant his holy names. That's the process of that Lord Chaitanya has given us, right? So this verse says, only because of Krishna does this material universes temporarily manifested by the three modes of material nature appear factual, although unreal. Yes, Krishna created this material world for us to come and enjoy, because we wanted to enjoy separately from him. That is how we defaulted in the spiritual world, and we have come here. So then he says, okay, go and enjoy. But he is so merciful that he sends his representatives to reclaim the fallen souls, or he himself comes. Paritranaya sadhanam vinashachaya duskritam dharma samstaparnataya sambhava yuge. That whenever there's a decline in religious principles, the Lord appears, to reclaim the fallen souls and to reestablish the principles of religion. So like this, Krishna is very merciful to us. Although we are enjoying him, we don't want to go back to him, right? We think that this place is very nice. I can enjoy my senses. I can do this. I can do that. I'm happy in this world. So we don't want to go back to Krishna, but Krishna is actually, he is missing us, and he wants us back more than we want to go back to him, right? He is actually crying for us to come back, but we think it's like a child. The child leaves the parents. Maybe he has some dispute with his parents, and he leaves his parents' home, and he goes out. He goes and he lives on the street somewhere. And do you think the parents are happy? seeing that the child living in the streets, well, what is he going to eat? Where is he going to get the money from? You know, so they're not happy. So similarly, Krishna is like this. He's not happy that we have left his association, and he wants us back. Therefore, he comes time and time again to come and to try and bring us back. And most recently, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, and he has showed us the way how to actually go back to the spiritual world. And the most easiest and sublime method in this age is chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But people say, oh, it's so easy, who can't do it? But they won't do it. You know, they won't chant the holy names, although it's so easy. They won't chant, but they will find faults, you know, with the devotees and with the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So we should actually disregard whatever people say, and we should continue with this process of chanting the holy names. And we find so much of bliss that we derive from just chanting the holy names of the Lord. So we won't want to give it up for anything in this material world, right? We dedicated our whole lives to chanting Hare Krishna, and not just one time or two times, 16 rounds a day. Okay, and even more. Some of us are doing more, 20, 30, 32 rounds a day. So, you know, like this. So 64 rounds. Some devotees are doing 64 rounds of japa every day. So the more you do, the better it is. Right? The quicker you go to Krishna, because the quicker your heart gets purified. So yes. I'm sorry, I just went on and on and on. But nice question, Prabhu. Very nice.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Anything else? If there's nothing, then we can just end with a little kirtan, chanting the holy names again, which is our favorite occupation, right? Glorifying Krishna, as Maharaj was saying in his class, right? This evening. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Jai Jai Prabhupada, Jai Jai Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Go Premanande, Hari Bo. Hare Krishna devotees. Vanchakalpa
Thank you, Mataji.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhyavicha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maji, thank you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.